1. Western culture has cut itself off from the serpent/life principle, in other words DNA, since it adopted an exclusively rational point of view. 2. The peoples who practice what we do call shamanism communicate with DNA. And 3. Paradoxically, the part of humanity that cut itself off from the serpent managed to discover its material existence in a laboratory some 3,000 years later.
64,000 is the median number of words per book. Average person reads about 200 words per minute. Simple math will tell us that is one book in 320 minutes. To accomplish this in 7 days, numbers say you would have to read for 45 minutes a day. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button, like, comment, and share. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Book of the Week series. Every week as I read another amazing title, I share it with the world. My name is Igor S.F. Walker. Today we look at the Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Origins of Knowledge by Jeremy Narby. So how about you slow down and relax? Reduce all that noise for just a bit. Make that choice and decide to listen. In this video, we look at this thought-provoking title to unlock the mysteries of biology, anthropology, and ancient civilizations. A read where science and spirituality intersects. Stick around till the end. I will share with you some tools I do have news that will help you tremendously in this game of life. Discover a way to find out what actually motivates you, what innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. I will share some tools to improve your self-awareness, your social awareness, your self-management, and relationship management. The sophistication of this recipe has prompted Richard Evans, the most renowned ethnobotanist of the 20th century, to comment, "One wonders how peoples in primitive societies with no knowledge of chemistry or physiology ever hit upon a solution to the activation of an alkaloid by a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. Pure experimentation? Perhaps not. The examples are too numerous and may become even more numerous with further and future research." It is as if they knew about the molecular properties of plants and the art of combining them. And when one asks them how they know these things, they say their knowledge comes directly from hallucinogenic plants. See, when anthropology was a young science, unsure of its own identity and unaware of the schizophrenic nature of its own methodology, it considered shamans to be mentally ill. When structuralist anthropology claimed to have attained the rank of science, and anthropologists boast themselves finding order in order, shamans became creators of order. When the discipline went into a post-structuralist identity crisis, unable to decide whether it was a science or a form of interpretation, shamans started exercising all kinds of professions. Finally, some anthropologists began questioning their discipline's obsessive search for order. And they saw shamans as those whose power lies in insistently questioning and undermining the search for order. According to one inventory, there are 72 ayahuasca-using cultures in Western Amazonia. Richard Evans, the foremost ethnobotanist of the 20th century, writes about the healers from a region in Colombia that he considers to be one of the centers of Western Amazonian shamanism. The medicine men of the Kamsa and of Inga tribes of the valley of Sybelvoy have an unusually extensive knowledge of medicinal and toxic plants. One of the most renowned is Salvador Chinoy, who insists that his knowledge and the medicinal value of plants has been taught to him by the plants themselves through the hallucinations he has experienced in his long lifetime as a medicine man. When I understood that the enigma of plant communication was actually a blind spot of science, I felt a call to conduct an in-depth investigation of the subject. It seemed to me that the establishment of a serious dialogue with indigenous people on ecology and botany required that this question be addressed. What if it were true that nature speaks in signs, and that the secrets to understanding its language consists in noticing similarities in shape or in form? We do not know how our visual system works. As you read the words, you do not really see the ink, the paper, your hands and the surroundings, but an internal and a three-dimensional image that reproduces them almost exactly. That is constructed by your brain. The photons reflected by the page strike the retinas of your eyes, which then transform them into electrochemical information. The optic nerve then relays this information to the visual cortex at the back of the head, where a cascade-like network of nerve cells separates the input into categories: form, color, movement, depth, etc. How the brain goes about reuniting these sets of categorized information into a coherent image is still a mystery. Now, this also means that the neurological basis of consciousness is unknown. Now, if we do not know how we see a real object in front of us, we understand even less how we perceive something that is not there. When a person hallucinates, there's no external source of visual stimulation, which of course is why cameras do not pick up hallucinatory images. The neurological pathways of hallucinogens are better understood than the mechanisms of hallucinations themselves. The spirit one sees in hallucinations are three-dimensional, sound-emitting images, and they speak a language made of three-dimensional sound-emitting images. In other words, they're made of their own language, just like DNA. And just like DNA, they replicate themselves to relay the information. The DNA molecule, which excels at stalking and duplicating information, is incapable of building itself on its own. Proteins do this, but they are incapable of reproducing themselves without the information contained in the DNA. Life, therefore, is a seemingly inescapable synthesis of these two molecular systems. DNA is the informational molecule of life, and its very essence consists of the both single and double, just like the mystical serpents. DNA and its duplication mechanisms are the same for all living creatures. The only thing that changes from one species to another is the order of the letters, the 4 letters. This constancy goes back to the very origins of life on Earth. Now, inside the nucleus, DNA coils and uncoils, withers and wiggles, Scientists often compare the movements and the form of this molecule to those of a snake. Molecular biologist Christopher Wills writes, "The two chains of DNA resemble two snakes coiled around each other in some elaborate courtship ritual. DNA is a snake-shaped master of transformation that lives in water and is in both extremely long and small, single and double, just like the cosmic serpent." Many shamanic people use images other than the cosmic serpent to discuss the creation of life, talking in particularly of a rope, a vine, a ladder, or a stairway of celestial origin that links heaven and earth. One of the best known variants of the axis mundi is the caduceus, formed by two snakes wrapped around an axis. Since the most ancient times, once find this symbol connected to the art of healing from India to Mediterranean. The Taoists of China represent the caduceus with the yin-yang, which symbolizes the coiling of two serpentine and complementary forms into a single androgynous vital principle. Most of the connections I have found up to this point between the cosmic serpent and the axis of the world and DNA were related to form. This actually concurred with what Carlos Perez said. Nature talks in signs, and to understand its language, one has to pay attention to the similarities in form. He also said that the spirits of nature communicate with human beings in hallucinations and in dreams. In other words, in mental images. Now, this idea is common in pre-rational traditions. For instance, Heraclitus said to the Pythian oracle, from Greek puton, serpent, that it neither declares nor conceals, but gives a sign. There are not many in-depth studies of shamanic language, no doubt because the anthropologists have never really taken it seriously. But what do these connections between DNA and the cosmic serpent and the axis of the world and the language of the nature mean? The correspondences are too numerous to be explained by chance alone. If I were a member of a jury having to convince on the matter, I would have the conviction that the same reality is being described from different perspectives. We never really see reality, but only an internal representation of it that our brain constructs for us continuously. I found it interesting that the language containing the instructions of the creation of different visual systems should be itself invisible. It was as if the instructions were to remain hidden from their beneficiaries, as if we were wired in such a way that we could not see the wires. Why? It was as if these beings inside of us wanted to hide. But that's what the Ashaninka say. They call the invisible beings who created life the Maninkari, literally those who are hidden. By shamanism, I understood a series of defocalization techniques: controlled dreams, prolonged fasting, isolation in wilderness, inhalation of hallucinogenic planes, hallucinations near the repetitive drum beat, near-death experiences, or combination of the above. Aboriginals of Australia reached the same conclusions as the ayahuasqueros of Colombia without the use of the plants, but working mainly with their dreams. All living beings contain DNA. Bacteria, carrots, humans. DNA is a substance, and as a substance does not vary from one species to another. Only the order of its letters changes. This is why biotechnology is possible. For instance, one can extract the DNA sequence in the human genome containing the instructions to build the insulin protein, and then splice it into the DNA of a bacteria which will then produce insulin similar to that can be extracted by the human pancreas. I discovered that the serpent was associated just about everywhere in shamanic knowledge, even in regions where hallucinogens were not used and where snakes are actually unknown in the local environment. 𝐤𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴 says that in Siberia, the serpent occurs in shamanic ideology and is the shaman's costume amongst people where the reptile itself is unknown. Then in an endless number of myths, the gigantic and terrifying serpent, or a dragon, guards the access of knowledge, which is represented in the form of a ladder. Cord, a tree, a vine. Then I also learned that the cosmic serpents are abound in the creation myths of the world, and that they are not only at the origin of knowledge, but at the origin of life itself. Snakes are omnipresent, not only in hallucinations, myths, and symbols of human being in general, but also in their dreams. Now, do people really venerate what they fear most? Do people suffering from phobia of spiders, for instance, decorate their clothes with images of spiders, saying we venerate these animals because we find them repulsive? Hardly. Therefore, I doubt that the Siberian shamans embellish their costumes with a great number of serpents simply because they suffer from a phobia of these reptiles. While scientists have known for over a quarter of a century that molecules such as dimethyltryptamine, psilocybin, and even LSD resembled the neurotransmitter serotonin, it was only in the 1990s that they actually discovered the existence of 7 types of serotonin receptors, in relations to which hallucinogen has a specific type of functioning. Outer biology, however, is founded on the notion that nature is not founded by intelligence, and therefore it cannot communicate. This comes from the tradition established by the naturalists of the 18th and 19th century. How, I wonder, could biology presuppose that DNA is not conscious if it does not even understand the human brain, which is the seat of our own consciousness and which is built according to the instructions in our DNA? How could nature not be conscious if our own consciousness is produced by nature? For the last 500 years, Western civilization has been teaching indigenous people that they know nothing, to the point that some of them have actually come to believe it. For them to actually appreciate the value of their own knowledge, they must come to terms with having been misled. Is there a goal to life? Do we exist for a reason? I actually believe so. And I think that the combination of shamanism and biology gives interesting answers to these questions. The microscopic world of DNA and its proteins and enzymes is teeming inside us and is enough to make us marvel. Yet rational discourse, which holds a monopoly on this subject, denies itself a sense of wonder. We do not have the slightest idea about how life got started. The very particular set of chemicals that are necessary remains unknown to us. The process itself could have included an improbable event, as it could have happened according to a particularly ineluctable sequence. It could have required several hundreds, millions of years, or just a few millennia. It could have happened in a tepid pool, or in a hydrothermal source at the bottom of the ocean, in a bubble, in an atmosphere, or somewhere else other than on Earth, out there in cosmos. Any certitude on this question is a question of faith. See, wisdom requires not only investigation of many things, but the contemplation of the mystery. And there you have it. The Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Origins of Knowledge. Now please do help out. It is easy. Simply like this video. Like it so more people can enjoy it. Share it too and spread the word. Do leave a comment and share your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel. Stay up to date. And the link to this book is in the description below. So buy it, read, never stop learning, especially learning about yourself and nature. So gift yourself by taking the free human needs test on my website. Find out what actually motivates you, what innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. And if you feel you are ready to improve your self-awareness and your social awareness, your self-management and relationship management even further, check out my Master of Life Awareness program. The links are in the description below. Thank you. Love and respect.